Welcome back, all you cute little werewolf babies. I'm not talking Disney Channel Twilight werewolf babies. I'm talking Wolfman, American Werewolf in London, werewolf babies. Can you imagine what a werewolf baby would be like? Like, would it be like a baby wolf and be like a cute little puppy? Has anyone seen Alvin and the Chipmunks Meet the Wolfman? Anyway, welcome back to Am I the Axolotl, the part of the show where Larry comes out and determines if you are indeed the axolotl. A baby werewolf would really cause some chaos. Like, I have a human baby. It can't walk, okay? It doesn't eat meat. It doesn't howl at the moon. What would it be like to have a werewolf baby? Like, okay, would it be like a human baby until the full moon and then turn into a wolf puppy? It's an important question. You hear annoying little pitter patters, that's my dogs running around. Okay, future Nika editing version here. This video ended up being the most annoying thing to film because, and I'll show you at some point when it happens, but they're kids. It's their parents' responsibility to, hello? My dog Lady decided to exit our house. The door just didn't shut all the way when my husband left, and so I had to stop filming, get my husband to come home. I was like in tears. I had the baby, so I couldn't like leave, which was the most, what would the word I'm looking for be? It was the most like trapped feeling I've had in a long time. Like I felt like I just couldn't leave. So I put the baby in the stroller, walked around as best I could. We drove all around, and finally, thankfully, somebody called and they had caught her and taken her to the nearest animal like veterinary hospital. But yeah, so this probably isn't like my best quality, and I totally feel it. However, I think it's important to keep my traction up and post, so please forgive me, and hopefully you still enjoy this whole business. Okay, bye. Normally, I react completely blind to these Am I the Axolotls, and sometimes that can be problematic because there's a level of inappropriateness I'm willing to have on this channel, but there's also a level that I'm just not comfortable discussing in front of the universe. And so today, I skimmed them just a slight bit just to make sure they were appropriate enough because it's Christmas season and I have Christmas shopping to do and I don't have a lot of time. And my husband was rude and went to work today. Oh, the audacity. I'm just kidding. Thank you, husband, for being amazing and working so I can be home doing this and taking care of our son. But anyway, today they've actually been skimmed through. I want to be transparent. Normally that doesn't happen, and normally it will not happen. However, I just didn't have time to have to stop and start over again. I apologize. I hope you still love me. Girl, you're gonna be so mad in a few minutes when you have to stop and start over again. Just loser. They were only skimmed though, so I really have very little idea. I can't even remember what I skimmed, so it should be fine. Should be fine. Let's get into it. Am I the axolotl? Right, let's jump into Reddit and find out if any of these people are indeed the axolotl. Again, sorry for all of the background noise. My husband had the audacity to go do something for work today, and so I have no one to watch the dogs and the baby. So I have the baby where I can hear the baby, I have the dogs where I can hear the dogs, so everyone should be safe, but it might be more annoying for you. Please forgive me. Okay. Am I the axolotl for not giving up my husband's seat on a plane? I feel like there's a lot of like plane seat drama that happens. I have nary been involved in much plane seat drama, except for when I was indeed a bridezilla. That's a story for another day. And when I was coming home from Australia, when I was 12, 13? I was 12. And someone asked me if we could switch seats because they wanted to sit with their friend. And I was like, yeah, sure, that's fine. But then they got in huge trouble for asking, and I got in huge trouble for allowing it. And then they pretended to be asleep when our like chaperones were trying to talk to them. It was a whole thing. But those are the only times I've ever been involved in airplane seat drama. This happened to us while flying to France out of Rayleigh. I don't know where Rayleigh is, but okay. My husband and I booked our aisle and middle seats together. While boarding, my husband got up to use the bathroom before the pre-flight announcements, okay? As we double-checked our seat location, there was a woman already sitting in the window seat of our row with a baby. As soon as I put my purse in my seat to take off my sweater and settle in, her husband came over to sit in my husband's seat. He looked at me and said, "Oh, I need to sit next to my wife and baby." I responded without moving out of his way that this was my husband's seat and he was in the bathroom. He said, "Would he mind sitting in my seat?" and proceeds to point all the way towards the back of the plane. I immediately responded, I can speak on behalf of my husband, and that would be no. They both looked at me with confused looks on their faces, like I somehow didn't have the right to politely decline. I don't know if that was the politest way to respond. It depends definitely on your tone, which I obviously can't tell because I'm reading this, but that's not how I would have said that. Then they tried to get the flight attendant's attention. But as they did, the person sitting directly behind the woman with the baby lifted herself up from the seat and said, if you knew you were flying with a baby, you should have made sure the seats were booked together. They both looked at each other, then the lady behind us then blankly looked at me while they mumbled something about trying to do that but couldn't for whatever reason. By then my husband was back and hers had already walked away. My husband sat down. Husband has like no idea what's happening. He's just, like do. And all this drama has just like enfolded around his seat. I quietly told him what had just occurred in case the husband might come back and ask him himself or bring the flight attendant over. And he was glad that I didn't let the seat go. With it being a long flight and him having anxiety about flying, he definitely didn't want to be sent to the back of the plane alone. And I definitely didn't want to be alone sitting next to a couple with a small baby for an hour for hours, not just 1 hour, for hours across the Atlantic. But I was even more appreciative of the woman behind us who spoke up just because. Safe travels, everyone. Thank you. I'm not going anywhere, but thank you. No one ever wishes me safe travels. Okay, no, I don't think you are indeed the axolotl. It's your seat, and they definitely should have booked correctly. Like, there is a way to do that, and it sucks when you can't. Like, it really does. And some people are like nice and able to switch seats, but you can't just expect it and be mad. However, I think your response could have been a little more polite, but no, you're not the axolotl. Absolutely not the axolotl. People need to get it in their minds that you have to book a plane to be what you want. And even then, sometimes planes are just the worst and stuff gets switched up. When I and my husband had just gotten married, I goofed up. This was totally my fault. I 100% admit it, okay? People could have handled it better, but mostly my fault, okay? I had traveled on a plane more than he had ever done. So I felt like I knew the procedures, and I didn't think we had to be there too soon to check our bags, which really, in retrospect, we didn't. You had to be there by 45 minutes before your flight. However, we got there maybe 40 minutes before our flight. It was like a 5 to 15 minute difference from whatever it should have been, and they would not check our bags. Which was frustrating, but it's like fine. However, when we were trying to talk to the people about it, a lady grabbed me by the arm and like moved me, which that was not cool. Don't touch people. But they gave us these other tickets, which we were not informed were standby tickets. So by the time 6 hours waiting at the airport, by the time we got to the plane that we should have been on, they were like, oh, these are standby tickets. We don't know if we can get you on. And, please know I was really tired from getting married the day before, and I just really wanted to go on my honeymoon. And we were supposed to go to Disneyland that day. Like, we had planned to fly early in the morning. I may have lost my mind a little bit and yelled at a lot of people, but I got us on the plane. I'm not proud of that. I'm really not. But sometimes the moral of that story is sometimes things with flights and you making mistakes just stinks, but you got to deal with it. And you can't just expect other people to give up their stuff for you, especially when you didn't book it correctly or you made a mistake. Next, am I the axolotl? Am I the axolotl for refusing to let my sister's kids attend my wedding after they destroyed my house? Well, this would depend on a couple of things. What is your definition of destroyed? I had my nieces at my house the other day, and my house is currently an absolute mess, and I had just cleaned it. Would I deny them access to my wedding? No, I love my nieces. They're fine. But what is the definition of destroyed? Because also kids can be absolute terrors nowadays. Like, I don't know if any of you guys heard about that Walmart girl that was like calmly walking around, like knocking stuff down, throwing glass bottles of things, but she was so calm. It was kind of scary. That kid scared me. Okay, let's find out. I'm 24 female, getting married to my fiance, 28 male, in a few months. And I'm in the middle of planning everything. I love my sister Emily, 30 female, and we've always been close despite our differences. She has 3 kids, ages 5, 7, and 10. Okay. 7 and 10 are a little old to be destroying houses, but still, my house is a mess and I have nieces in those close to those age ranges, so we'll see. And while I love them, I don't see them often. The problem is that the last time they visited my house, they left behind a trail of chaos that has made me question whether I want them at my wedding. Okay. A few months ago, Emily and her kids came to visit for the weekend. I was excited to spend time with them, but as soon as they walked in, things went sideways. Get it? Because I'm sideways. They ran through my house, broke a vase, spilled juice on the carpet, and drew on my walls with a crayon. Okay. Yeah, 7 and 10 are definitely far too old to be doing that. I could see 5. When I was little, I was babysat by Miss Debbie, and her daughter told me to color on the walls, and I was so petrified. I knew it was wrong. I knew it was wrong. So I grabbed a pencil and I just did the lightest little color on the wall. And she's like, no, you need to use crayon. And I got in so much trouble when I finally got caught, and it was because her daughter told me to. I know kids can be messy, but this felt different. Yeah, that's not just messy. Like, my house is a mess because my kids were playing appropriately. This is like actual destruction to an extent. Not quite that dramatic, but when Emily tried to help, the kids ignored her and were more interested in playing. The worst part was when my fiance found one of the kids trying to climb on our dining table, which was a custom piece we had saved up for, okay? When they left, my house was in shambles. It took me 2 days to clean everything, and I was left feeling frustrated and overwhelmed. I brought it up to Emily, and she said that kids will be kids, and I shouldn't be so hard on them. Kids will be kids is what you say when maybe like one thing accident. No, kids will be kids is not an excuse for breaking things, climbing on things, and coloring on walls. Kids will be kids is like an excuse for, oh, it's a little loud, or maybe one thing gets broken and it's genuinely an accident. But when kids are behaving like this and the parents aren't doing anything about it, that's a problem. And I shouldn't be so. I understand kids can be energetic and curious, but I felt like my boundaries were crossed and my home wasn't respected. I think that's very valid to feel that way. Now, as I'm planning my wedding, Emily has asked if the kids can come. She told me that her kids are excited to see me get married and that they would be on their best behavior. I wanted to say yes, but I can't forget how they treated my house. I've been stressing about it, and I finally told her that I'm not comfortable having them at the wedding. I offered to let her come with her husband or a friend, but she's upset and saying that I'm being unreasonable and unfair. Some of my friends have said that I should let it go and let them come. Others say I have every right to set boundaries for my big day, and I'm not sure if I'm overreacting or if I'm justified in saying no. Am I the axolotl for refusing to let my sister's kids attend my wedding after the chaos they caused at my house? Okay. To an extent, this is not the kids' fault. Like, their parents should be parents. Yes, ages 10 and 7 are way too old to be coloring on the walls and certain things. However, they're still kids. Kids are gonna make messes. I think your issue is not with the kids. Your issue is with your sister and not trusting her to parent while she's in your space. So maybe instead of not letting them come to the wedding, it's like, the conversation would be, I felt really disrespected when your answer was just kids will be kids. Because that to me is what's upsetting. Yes, it's frustrating what the kids did, but they're kids. It's the parents' responsibility to parent their kids and make sure that they are not doing that kind of stuff and to have proper consequences. So I don't think you're being the axolotl for being upset, but I feel like you're more putting it on the kids and less on their parents. So maybe a better conversation would be, how are you going to ensure that they are on their best behavior, and kind of go from there, see what your sister says. Okay, not the axolotl, but conversations could be had differently. Today has been one of those days where you had a plan, you were real excited about your plan, and then everything just goes to poo. While I was filming part of this, is it recording? Cool. While I was filming this video, my dog, Ladybird, decided I'm just gonna open the door and leave. So we were driving all around the neighborhood. I stopped filming this, and luckily some wonderful, wonderful saint had caught her and taken her to the nearest animal shelter. So we have her, she is home safe. But I'm gonna rip my hair out. So anyway, this probably won't be the best quality video I've ever made because that happened right in the middle of me filming, but that's okay. We're gonna finish it. We're gonna give it our best because I've had good traction with making these and I don't want to give that up. So here is the 199th, and then I tried to film this again and didn't have my mic on. It's going great, I'm doing great. Everything's fine, fine, it's all fine. So here's take 197 of the last Am I the Axolotl? Am I the axolotl if I ask my parents for separate holidays from my sister? I have never had a sister. I've had a brother, I've had a husband, I've had sister-in-laws, but I've never had, a sister relationship. I've never had a sister. So I don't know. I have friends. I've got really good friends that are kind of like sisters, but I know it's not the same, so. Anywho, I, female 44, am the oldest of 3 girls. My parents are wonderful people that I have always loved and respected. Dude, I'm telling you, it's been a day. I live an hour and a half away from my parents after a job relocation. I took the opportunity to relocate for a few reasons. It was my dream job, and I was going through a divorce, and I had to distance myself from my middle sister, female 40. You moved an hour and a half away to get away from, ooh, oh. The tea is piping hot. Growing up, I felt like there were 2 sets of parents. Okay? Mine and my younger sister's, female 36, versus middle sister. Okay, so she feels like the parents act differently between the, got it. Okay. It didn't feel as apparent until high school, and even more so after middle sister and I were both married. My mom has always fought middle sister's battles and claims that she doesn't want to be involved in the disagreements between the 3 sisters. If she feels that middle sister has been wronged, then younger sister and I will get scolded. If middle sister is in the wrong, mom wants to stay out of it. That's odd, because usually that happens with like the younger sibling, and then it's the older and middle that kind of get the brunt of it. Usually, really, like traditionally, the middle sibling gets like the worst of it. But so this is a really interesting dynamic. Okay. I was always close to my dad, and when I would get upset over the unequal treatment, he would listen to me vent and agree, but never push back on my mom. Okay. About 2 years ago, I married my wonderful husband. I met him after I settled into my new city. We were both divorced and childless and found the partners we needed in each other. As we started our new life journey together, we found out I was pregnant, and we were beyond elated. Congratulations, that's awesome. I struggled with infertility and went through years of treatment with my ex. Originally, we wanted to have a destination wedding at our favorite vacation spot, but the logistics with our 2-year-old wasn't appealing to me. So we planned a small wedding in my parents' backyard with immediate family and a few close friends. My brother-in-law was the officiant, and my youngest sister, his wife. Oh, I'm stupid. My brother-in-law was the officiant, and then my sister, his wife, got it. So was the maid of honor. I did not ask my middle sister to be in the wedding. She was a bridesmaid in my first wedding. A little context about why from my first wedding. I spoke with middle sister about asking younger sister to be my maid of honor, and she claimed she understood why, then proceeded to skip my bridal shower because she had too much schoolwork. I just got very blind for a sec. Hold on. As she was living in another city and getting her master's, and no call, no showed to my bachelorette party. Fast forward to wedding day, she made a spectacle about how lucky I was she was there since she had so much homework, snapped at me that, I should have made her my matron of honor, then stormed out of my reception after younger sister didn't mention middle sister in her speech. Girl, it's not about you. It's not your wedding day. Day after my wedding, middle sister's husband at the time sent a seething email to younger sister about how she intentionally chose activities for my wedding that middle sister wouldn't like, and how younger sister was rude to not talk about middle sister in the speech. When we shared this with our parents, my mom said, "I'm so happy middle sister's husband stood up for her." That caused a rift between younger sister and my parents for months. Okay. Listen, you're upset that you're not the matron of honor. However, you couldn't make it to any of the other events. Listen, I've been a maid of honor. I've been a bridesmaid, and I've done wedding things that I hated. I've been to bachelorette parties that I thought were stupid, but I forced myself to enjoy it because that's what you do when you're in the wedding. If you can't, at the least, try to enjoy the things and be there for some of the things, things happen, you can't be at everything, and that's fine. But if you're gonna not be at anything and then complain that you're not the maid of honor, you shouldn't be the maid of honor. Sorry. Ugh, okay. All right. Fast forward to my second wedding. I'm not asking middle sister to be in the wedding. Not asking middle sister to be in the wedding was her out. We wanted to enjoy our day, and I am frankly tired of how our family caters to middle sister's moods and tantrums. Yeah, if she made a scene at your first wedding, I wouldn't want her to be involved at my, yeah, I get it. Okay. My husband and I were very intentional in our attendance. They are the people who loved and supported us on our journeys to find each other, through becoming parents and celebrating the life we have built together. During the rehearsal dinner, she sat and pouted during dinner, and a guest overheard her complaining to my mom about not being in the wedding. As a favor to my mom, I had reached out to middle sister a few times leading up to the wedding to involve her and ask if she wanted to keep an eye on the kids in the morning of the wedding. She claims she didn't see the text to my mom. What? Oh, like, so you're trying to have her be involved by okay. To mom, I'd reached out leading up, involve her, and asked if she could keep an eye on the kids the morning of the wedding. She claims she didn't see the text to my mom when I told her middle sister was unresponsive, yet it was marked read. Okay, so that can happen on accident though. Like, you can absentmindedly open something without looking at it. So it could be either or. So the morning of the wedding, as I'm finished up getting ready, my husband was watching the kids and middle sister shows up late. This was after my dad tried to convince me to have middle sister in the wedding that morning, and I told him why I didn't want her in it. It wasn't about her, yet I caved, and she held our baby nephew, the mini ring bearer, as she walked down the aisle. Okay. At the reception, my husband and I focused on enjoying the night and our guests. My dad wanted to say a few words, and his speech was 80% about middle sister, and he even asked our friends and family to give middle sister a round of applause for her scholastic efforts at your wedding. I was appalled but held it in. Many of our guests remarked on how odd my dad's speech was. That night, I barely slept, incredibly hurt by the event of the day. For a month afterwards, I didn't speak with my parents. I cried to my husband about how hurt I was and sought counseling to process the events. I eventually confronted my parents, and my dad got angry. My mom hushed him and asked what they could do for us to move forward. I said, we are adults, and like adults, we need to stay out of the issues between us and tell middle sister to talk to me about it. Okay. All right. Yeah, that would be really, really, really weird to be at a wedding and then hear the father of the bride say a speech about another sibling who has barely anything to do with anything. Ow! Ow! You dogs are like the bane of my existence today. Okay, now on to this past Thanksgiving. My husband was working the Friday through Sunday after Thanksgiving. So my daughter and I drove up for my family's Thanksgiving dinner on that Friday. And we were both feeling a little under the weather from cold, but made the trip nonetheless. I think we were there maybe 10 minutes when middle sister's partner showed up with some friends. I was unaware that there would be extra people at our Thanksgiving, but I tried to start conversation with them and they seemed to want nothing to do with me. Okay. My middle sister's partner used to be so much more friendly, and the longer she's with middle sister, my middle sister's partner used to be so much more friendly, and the longer she's with middle sister, she becomes like her and not saying hello. When she first sees me or even asks how things are going. This is like so wordy, I'm sorry. I always have to initiate conversation with or even a basic greeting. Okay, so it sounds like middle sister's partner is also starting to act very cold when she didn't used to. Got it, okay. At dinner, I felt like I didn't even exist to anyone in the room. Middle sister had to overtake every conversation, starting or ending it with something about her. At one point, I said I was going to check on my daughter and left the room. I went and sat back on the couch, not feeling well, but knowing that I wasn't going to stay for the rest of the weekend. My daughter was sad, but I told her I wasn't feeling well, which was true, but I also just didn't want to feel singled out when I looked forward to spending time with my parents. I called my husband on our way home and cried to him. I also talked to my dad's sister, who's always supported me and has watched from afar how unfairly I have been treated. Both of them told me that I need to set boundaries with my parents, but strongly suggest that I set appointments with my parents and say that I have tried for years with middle sister, but I want quality time with both of you, and our daughter deserves the same. We deserve holidays and time that we come to visit to only see you, and not play second fiddle to middle sister and her kids. Am I the axolotl if I ask my parents for separate holidays from my sister? I don't think that's unreasonable, especially like when her friends are there and you're feeling really uncomfortable with these random friends that you weren't expecting. I would say though, maybe ask to have the separate holiday at your house. So then because it's one thing if, you know, you're inviting people and you have a boundary in your home, your parents don't necessarily need to have that same boundary. So we have a family member that, you know, we're kind of no contact with right now. And however, not everyone in the family is. And I'm not going to put that on them. I just know, okay, if they go to Thanksgiving, I'm not going to come to Thanksgiving. Or if they come to Christmas, I'm not going to come to Christmas. So I think the best thing that you can do in this situation is just host the holiday at your house when you want to have it separate. And you're going to have to be okay with having it not necessarily on the holiday, which it sounds like you did this event on a Friday. So it sounds like you're already chill with that for Thanksgiving. So that shouldn't be a problem. But it sounds like your middle sister is really causing you a lot of hurt and making a lot of things about her. And that's not good. Like, I'm truly sorry that happened at your wedding and that your dad did that. That's super weird. But no, you are not the axolotl, my dear. And yes, you need to set boundaries. However, it's easier to do that in your own space. So don't expect them to have your boundaries at their house. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? You know, you get my drift. You get it? You get it? Okay. All right, so that was a very unconventional Am I the Axolotl video. It's been quite the day. It took me way longer to film this when I had intended to make it shorter. But nonetheless, we got it done. Now, before you go, please subscribe because Scraps wants you to. Come on. Look at him. Look at him. Look at him. Look at him. How could you say no to that face? Subscribe. Subscribe! Okay, thanks so much for watching. I will see you next week with another Am I the Axolotl?